The story is set in Mexico, and it begins with a man named Joe, an avocado farmer who is struggling to keep the farm running. With finances getting worse, Joe makes a desperate decision. He signs up for illegal fight matches to earn money, hoping to pay his workers and keep everything from falling apart. Confident in his skills, Joe enters multiple fights, believing he cannot be defeated. And in the ring, he fights with brutally efficiency. Even after getting bitten during the first match, Joe still comes out on top. After receiving basic treatment from his friend and worker, Lopez, he returns to the ring and continues dominating his opponents. He fights 4 times in total and remains undefeated through all of them. But once he earns enough money to cover 2 months of wages, Joe decides to walk away from the fighting scene. It turns out the avocado farm he is trying to save actually belongs to his girlfriend, Estrella. She is upset when she finds out what Joe has been doing, worried about the risks he took just to support the farm, but Joe reassures her that he would do anything to protect the legacy her father left behind. He even promises that one day he will marry her. From this moment, it is revealed that Joe is not just an ordinary farmer. He is a former Australian mercenary, trained in multiple combat styles. Because of that, he tells Estrella not to worry too much about his safety. Not long after, when food supplies run out, Joe is asked to accompany one of the workers, Marco, to buy groceries at a nearby market. On the way, Marco tries to bring up the illegal fights, but Joe avoids the topic. What matters to him is simple. He feels indebted to Estrella's father for taking him in, and more than anything, he truly loves Estrella. When they arrive at the market, Joe buys supplies from a vendor named Maria. But just as Joe and Marco are about to leave, a man named Chavez shows up. He is the son of the Mafia boss who controls the city. Sensing Joe's lack of respect, Chavez approaches them and points a gun at Marco. Not wanting to escalate the situation, Joe chooses to walk away. But as they leave, Chavez suddenly shoots Maria without hesitation, leaving Marco completely shocked. The situation does not end there. Chavez becomes increasingly curious about Joe, especially after sensing his defiance. He and his men begin chasing them. Joe speeds away in his car, but the escape ends in disaster when he crashes into a tree. For a moment, Joe loses consciousness. Meanwhile, Marco is dragged out of the vehicle and is about to be executed on the spot. But just as things seem hopeless, Joe suddenly reappears, armed and ready. Without hesitation, he eliminates Chavez and all of his men. After the chaos, Joe asks Marco to help him bury all the evidence. He also makes it clear that everything that happened must remain a secret. This is Mexicali. The next day, Joe deliberately crosses paths with a sharply dressed man while heading back from Estrella's place. The man introduces himself as Baptiste, claiming he and his guards are simply scouting avocado farms since he is looking to buy land. At one point, Baptiste even asks Joe for a ride to his car, but something about him immediately raises suspicion. Given the situation, it is only natural for Joe to assume that Baptiste might be connected to Chavez, possibly even his father. Worried about Estrella's safety, Joe wastes no time. He urges her to leave the farm immediately without explaining the real reason. He also tries to warn Marco about what is happening, but it is already too late. By the time they realize the danger, Baptiste has already arrived at Estrella's house. This time, he presents himself as a distributor of fruits and vegetables, expressing interest in purchasing avocados from the farm. With no reason to suspect anything, Estrella welcomes him inside. She treats him politely but eventually declines his offer, explaining that she already has a partnership with another company. She also mentions that she plans to leave for her sister's place for a few months. Baptiste does not take the rejection well. It becomes clear that he has done extensive research on Estrella and her family, including the farm itself. He even knows that her father was once a soldier who fought against the cartels. The tension quickly rises when Baptiste brings up the damage on Joe's car. He also reveals that the Mexican federal police are currently investigating the death of a Mafia boss's son, a man connected to a powerful figure known as General L. According to him, Chavez was found buried alongside a cache of weapons. As one of Baptiste's men arrives, the atmosphere grows even more threatening. Joe can sense that the man is dangerous. Not long after, Baptiste leaves, casually handing over his contact number. For the time being, Joe entrusts the farm to Lopez. Before leaving, he tries to call Marco again, but still gets no response. Concerned, Joe and Estrella decide to check on him. When they arrive at Marco's house, things take a dark turn. Joe is immediately confronted by a blood-covered man. Without hesitation, he takes him down. Moments later, Joe's worst fears are confirmed. Inside the house, Marco's already dead, his body in a horrifying condition. Overcome with guilt, Joe tells Estrella to wait somewhere safe while he cleans up the mess. But before he can finish, more Mafia members arrive at the scene, leaving him no choice but to fight again. Just as Joe finishes dealing with them, Baptiste and his men show up, forcing Joe to escape once more. The hunt begins immediately, with Baptiste's men spreading out to track him down. But this time, Joe is ready. The pursuit leads them into a trap where Joe is already waiting. One of Baptiste's strongest enforcers, a man named Ruthie, confronts him head-on. The two clash in a brutally fight. Joe nearly takes Ruthie down, but Baptiste's sudden arrival forces him to retreat again. With no other option, Joe escapes and reunites with Estrella, who has been waiting for him. Together, they manage to get away, at least for now. Meanwhile, in their hideout, Joe suggests starting a new life somewhere else, far away from all the danger. But Estrella refuses to abandon the farm that has been passed down through her family for generations. Instead of running, she chooses to fight back. She asks Joe to teach her how to defend herself, determined to stand her ground. At the same time, Baptiste meets with a representative of the Mafia boss and claims that Joe has already been taken care of. This surprises Ruthie, who senses something is off about the lie. But Baptiste insists that everything is part of his own plan. With no money left, Joe decides to return to the illegal fighting scene, this time hiding his identity. He enters under the name The Farmer. In his first match, he dominates effortlessly, impressing the promoter with his skill and brutality. But as he prepares for his second fight, the name The Farmer reaches Baptiste. This immediately draws Baptiste to the arena, and he uses the opportunity to capture Estrella. Now Joe has no choice. He is forced to confront the Mafia head-on. Using the money from his fights, Joe begins gathering weapons. But the illegal arms dealer tries to take advantage of him, selling everything at an outrageous price while also threatening his life. That is the last mistake they make. Joe loses his patience and brutally eliminates them all. 68. Meanwhile, Estrella's farm has been taken over by the Mafia. With nothing left to hold him back, Joe infiltrates the farm and starts taking down the Mafia members one by one. Before long, he stands face to face with Baptiste and Ruthie. Completely in control of the situation, Joe forces Baptiste to call the Mafia boss and bring him directly to the farm. But just as Ruthie is about to release Estrella, she reveals something unexpected. Baptiste is not who Joe thinks he is. Then comes the big twist. Without warning, Baptiste suddenly turns on his own ally and kills him on the spot. In that moment, the truth is finally revealed. Baptiste is not just another enemy. He is a businessman who has been used by General L for years, forced to carry out dirty work for the Mafia. Now he has had enough. Instead of serving them, he chooses to take a risk and side with Joe, working together to wipe out the Mafia that has been terrorizing the city. Right then, the Mafia boss arrives, bringing his entire army with him. Joe steps forward with a plan, offering what seems like a deal that could benefit General L. For some reason, the boss lowers his guard, and the moment the opportunity appears, Joe takes it. As soon as the door opens, he eliminates the boss with ease. With their leader gone, the Mafia forces lose control and begin firing wildly. But Joe and Baptiste are ready. They fight back without hesitation. At the same time, Estrella joins in, taking control of a machine gun and unleashing her own attack against the remaining enemies. The battle quickly turns into chaos. Joe and Baptiste move outside, splitting up to handle the incoming waves of enemies from different directions. One by one, they take them all down. In the end, the three of them manage to wipe out the entire Mafia force. After everything is over, the workers return to the farm and begin cleaning up what is left behind. For the first time in a long while, the place is finally free. Baptiste walks away, breathing in a sense of freedom he has not felt in years, no longer living under the shadow of the Mafia. And as things settle, Joe finally keeps his promise. He proposes to Estrella in his own unique way, using a grenade pin as a symbol. And with that, the story comes to an end. So the moral of the story is if your boyfriend says he's just a simple farmer, double check before he starts winning cage fights, killing Mafia bosses, and proposing with a grenade pin.